Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. DanJo, the Mysterious here, and welcome to episode 8 of MaGMML3. Are those robot masters up there? Let's, check them out. Can I interact with them? Oh, I can. Armored Explosive Robot, Drill Man. Failure. The drills at the bomb tip cannot reliably penetrate walls and remain fixed. Note to self. Apparently a Russian scientist is designing a similar robot to this one. Consider revising this drill bomb for future use. Okay, that's by Dr. Wily. Underwater Combat Robot, Faucet Man. Failure. Faucet head constantly leaks sulfuric acid, no matter how much the valve is tightened. Note to self. Consider a more compact form of weaponizing water. Why do these sound familiar? Time-stopping robot, Light Man. Failure. Time-stopping technology doesn't work, and in fact just causes the body lights to flicker constantly. This robot makes me physically ill. Armored Combat Robot, Barga Man. Failure. Upon completion, this prototype went out of control, only saying something about a simulation. I've noticed more of this robot appearing weeks later, just as other prototypes had vanished. Okay. Nature Combat Robot, Elephant Board. Failure. Despite possessing great strength and bulk, this robot's power consumption is laughably poor. It runs out of power in just 2 hours. It also refused to accept any fuel other than, of all things, peanuts. Unsurprisingly, peanuts do not power robots for very long. But natural elephants do. Agile Combat Robot, Boomerang Man. Failure. Although the boomerangs this robot uses show promise, it has one fatal flaw. It can't catch them when they return. I'm sick of having to constantly replace an arm and half its face every time I run a weapon test. I'll just make the next model fast enough to dodge them. Air Assault Robot, Thunderman. Failure. This robot cannot handle the voltage of its own electric attacks. Every combat test has ended with the prototype completely short-circuiting itself and starting at least 2 fires. Between Smokeman and this useless bolt-flinging bucket of bolts, I regret not putting more windows in this place. Speaking of, Incendiary Combat Robot, Smokeman. Failure. This robot's unorthodox means of venting excess heat has caused tar to clog up its servos and irreparably damage important circuitry. All attempts to provide substitutes had been violently refused prior to total mechanical failure. I'll need to consider a different means of controlling nuclear power in a robot. Even for robots, smoking is bad for your health. Who knew? Nature Combat Robot, Wormman. Failure. Hindsight is always a nuisance. I've only now realized I built this robot a smidge too tall. Upon completion, it couldn't walk out of its manufacturing chamber. When told to crawl out, it claimed to hate small spaces. So much for natural camouflage. I could probably make a better combat robot out of a tree. You see why Dr. Wily abandoned this place, right? Those robot masters never seen the light of day again. Anyway, 170th place is a level with 26 points. A piece of cake, but with aesthetics by NixBG. 20, 14, 36, 32, 28. Is it a piece of cake? Does it have good aesthetics? Well, with 2 energy elements and 2 trickster tokens, we may as well find out. Okay, we have split paths to take. I'm gonna take the left one first. Okay. Tellies and the Sniper Joe. Pretty basic stuff here. Hello there. making sure. Oh, gotta make sure if there's something on the right there before I fall down there. Oh, a key. Maybe I can find a door that holds a trickster token. Hello, you big giant gorilla robot with treadmills. I'm not sure how good it is aesthetically. Okay, checkpoint. Oh. Nice. Ooh. Oh, there's a trickster token and the key door that blocks it. Okay then. Already at the boss corridor. Oh, hello, Dustman. From MaGMML3. Okay. Okay, this shouldn't be too bad. Once he sucks you up, get away from him. Once he's ready to shoot those dust blocks, jump over it. Make sure not to move as you're jumping over it like I did a few seconds ago. And he will jump every now and then. There we go. That's one route down. Okay. I'm going to take the other route this time. Oh. Oh, jeez. What even was that? And it has ice physics. Oh, man. That was pretty hard on the ice for a moment. Not sure if the aesthetics part applies to this route. Oh, hello. I don't remember seeing you. I'm guessing you're, Strike Man's mini-boss? The Strike Man stage mini-boss? It's all the balls you're shooting out of your turret? Anyway. There's the other trickster token. Pretty easy. Oh, there's that background again. Jeez Louise. More conveyor belts. Okay. Oh, hello, Anchor. How are you? Okay, for those who don't know, Anchor first appeared in Mega Man Wily's Revenge for the Game Boy. What he'll do is he'll either jump or run to the other side. Once he raises his weapon, he'll then afterwards shoot out a beam. You can shoot him while he raises his weapon, but the more you shoot him while he does so, the more powerful his projectile will be, so he'll also take damage as well, so there you go. Tier boss unlocked. Fight them to claim the tier 1 rank. Well, it was pretty easy, I will give it that. Well, I guess it is half true. It's certainly a piece of cake. Nothing in here ever feels threatening, nor is it all that interesting. But flat color backgrounds with a couple Tornado Man tiles does not make a good aesthetic. In fact, there's times where the visuals are outright hard on my eyes, never mind some of the broken camera scrolling. In other words, there's really no aesthetics to be had here. It's not terribly offensive outside of the visuals, particular personal props for the split path of 2 energy elements being right at the start of the level, making it one of the least offensive second elements I've encountered in a while. But it doesn't do nearly enough to be good. To be honest, I'm more fascinated by the level's name than the level itself. What does it even mean, if anything? Either way, there's not a whole lot to talk about with this one. It's a relatively empty stage with very basic enemy and gimmick applications, to the point where even after replaying this stage numerous times, it's kind of a struggle to remember any one distinct section of it, outside perhaps the methods of getting both tokens. At the very least, I can commend having a split path that's easy to access, given it's directly at the start of the stage. That aside, the only other major thing to comment on here would be the visuals. They're severely lacking, to put it mildly. I guess that might be an intentional joke, given the level's name. If that's actually the case, though, I don't really think the joke was worth it. Aesthetic isn't. That's a major irony of a title if I ever saw one. Well, it did get one thing right. It is a piece of cake. Yummy. There are 2 paths. Both of them are relatively simple and aren't really all that remarkable, other than the occasional screen flashes in the form of bright background tiles. I guess that's supposed to be the aesthetics? Fancy font? At least the split happens right at the beginning, but I don't know if the split was very necessary to begin with. The stage could have been combined as one and it would have flowed just the same for how themeless both sections were. For each end, you fight Dustman and Anchor, respectively. They're very standard ones with no changes to their arenas to spice things up. One interesting bug did happen where Anchor's element had spawned inside the boss gate and got pushed off screen because he died too close to the wall there. Oops. I have to wonder about who's been decorating the cakes you've seen. Unless you mean aesthetics in the sense of this piece of cake plays music. I'll give you credit for the subtle difference in floor color between paths, and for competent foreground graphics, but the unappetizing solid colored backgrounds and occasional moments of overzealous window tiling offer no sense of place or wonder. As for creativity, I want anything at all. Create something. Don't just drop 1 or 2 random enemies onto boring platforms, and especially don't let whole screens go by without any real danger. Unless you're giving the player a break or setting up a surprise. One enemy acting as a shield for another enemy is a good first step, but it's not enough to carry the entire level. 3 main things make up my total score here. An absence of problems with construction or programming, a lack of anything to aggravate me or to justify a skip teleporter, and the fact that I give 5 points for a perfectly acceptable soundtrack. Apart from screen transitions being indistinguishable from pits, this short level is easy enough to navigate. Checkpoints are sufficiently frequent. Collision and transition objects are used correctly, though you can blindly foam one to tellies in one spot. Each path has a couple prominent enemies or gimmicks, so there's the vaguest sense of focus. Challenge introductions are passable, if for no other reason than that enemies are usually introduced one at a time in the blandest setting possible. Although Rush Jet and Laser Trident obliterate what little challenge there is, the design allows for freedom of weapon use without needless restrictions. I care about the title accurately describing the level, and despite the contentious aesthetics portion, the level is indeed a piece of cake. Piece of cake with aesthetics? Well, that was a lie. I mean, it's half true. While the aesthetics are a lot to be desired, it really is a piece of cake. Piece of cake. Number 170. A Piece of Cake, but with Aesthetics, by Nick's BG. Is it though? Is it a piece of cake, but with aesthetics? Well, yes and no. Allow me to explain. Yes, it is indeed a piece of cake, and that it is so easy I didn't die once, even with only my buster. That includes facing off against bosses. I'll get to those, by the way. Getting the Trickster tokens is also easy, with one of them, in plain sight, having you either slide or jump constantly on the conveyor belt pushing you back with no real danger, and the other you can just shoot the 2 dust blocks up top to get to the easy to reach platform for the key that you can carry with you and then unlock the only key door that's impossible to miss. Again, with no real danger. By the way, there are 2 routes to take, each having a mini-boss, an aforementioned Trickster token, and a boss carrying an energy element at the end. Actually, one of the bosses kinda makes sense given that you do see the dust blocks in one of the routes I mentioned previously before fighting Dustman himself in that same route. I don't see why you fight Anchor in the other route, but whatever. I do appreciate that you give the players the option of which of the 2 routes to take right off the bat, and although subtle, I do like the detail of which route is which based off of some floors and walls alone. As for the rest of the aesthetics, however, one route does look somewhat aesthetically pleasing, compared to the other route that greets you with an eye-searing background, and the rest of the path's backgrounds don't blend together well or transition properly. And that's where the no part of my answer comes in. If you're taking the but with aesthetics part of your level's title ironically, then haha, very funny. Does that make up for your level's design though? Not really. I appreciate you living up to that piece of cake portion of your level, keeping casual players in mind, I really do. But even then, it doesn't feel all that exciting to play with just a basic platforming and enemies to fight for both routes. Besides the aesthetics, the only other notable difference between the 2 is that one of them is slightly harder, but not by much, with ice physics, spikes, and more opportunities to fall down into pits. There's not even an interesting gimmick to speak of, if at all. You could argue that the aesthetics themselves are the gimmicks, but I would not call them actual gimmicks, really. So in other words, it's a bland level all around. Don't feel too bad though, I got you a cake! I find that a "you tried" sticker wasn't enough, so I decided to give you this instead. I even wrote a message on top of it. It reads, "Good try. It surely was a piece of cake, but aesthetics left a lot to be desired." Among other things. I'm going to give A Piece of Cake, but with Aesthetics by Nick's BG 32 out of 100. This has been DanJo, the Mysterious, and let's hope those prototype robot masters don't come to haunt us. Or at the very least, steal our cake. Until we meet again.